Arn Anderson was also let go this week. Arn Anderson was fired. And this one was a shocker. He had been working backstage as a producer for the company since WCW went under in 2001. Dave Meltzer on his website's message board was responding to people, and he said that Arn and Vince had a shouting match. Vince then sent him home and decided, in his words, never to bring him back. And then on his radio show, I think last night, I saw some notes here. I didn't listen to it yet, but on his radio show, Meltzer mentioned that flat out, Arn got fired. There was an incident. A lot of people are keeping quiet as to exactly what it was about, but it was an incident involving Vince McMahon. There are people who were siding with Arn Anderson, and there are people who were siding with Vince McMahon. And he doesn't have the full details yet. I'm sure it'll come out of what the incident was about, other than it was something at a house show that happened and apparently was not handled very well, and Arn took the blame for it. He took the heat for it. It's kind of like when Fit Finlay took the heat for something completely stupid that happened a number of years ago, and they fired him for it. Now, eventually they brought him back, but that was that whole thing. I think it was a house show, and it was his decision to allow a segment where The Miz interrupted. I think it was the Star Spangled Banner or the National Anthem or something, and there were some Army or military folks in the crowd, and I think the U.S. Army is a sponsor for WWE. And they weren't happy, and they raised a stink about how can you interrupt the singing of the national anthem. And I mean, again, that's something that's been done how many times for heel heat and wrestling over the years? Finlay wasn't trying to be an evil person. He got fired for that. So I'm very curious to know what this incident was. Was this really a big deal? Or is this something very petty and stupid? I would suspect that those details will leak at some point, and we'll find out. But according to Meltzer, Arn and Vince were already not on the best of terms. There had been other examples of incidents over the years that had occurred. And, Arn is a guy who was very well liked by a lot of people, including some of the top stars in the company. People like Triple H, John Cena. Apparently he was John Cena's agent whenever John Cena did anything on television. Arn was his go-to guy. It's also worth noting, I think, that WWE posted this week a YouTube video introducing us to their new batch of backstage agents or producers, whatever they're calling them these days. They showed Jeff Jarrett, Abyss, Shane Helms, Sanjay Dutt, and Sean Daivari. Lots of new blood behind the scenes, if you can consider Jeff Jarrett to be new blood. I kind of chuckle when I say that out loud. But they let Arn Anderson go in a week where they introduced all of these new, backstage agents. Again, one may not have anything to do with the other. It could just purely be whatever this incident and shouting match was with him and Vince. But you got to think Vince looks at the situation also and says, this guy is expendable. We have all these new people. We don't have to keep him around. He did something that obviously pissed Vince off. Fuck this guy. And he fired him. And we're not going to skip a beat because we've got Jeff Jarrett. We've got Sanjay Dutt. Fuck Arn Anderson. Well, we have all these other new guys now. And they let him go the week before Ric Flair's birthday party on television. Rick actually had a 70th surprise birthday party. Some footage is online. It's actually pretty cool. There were a lot of names there. Evander Holyfield was there. Charles Barkley was there. Triple H and Chris Jericho were there posing for photos together, which was wild. I saw the Knobs of the Nasty Boys probably stuffing his face with stuff in the background at some point. A lot of people, Ricky Steamboat, a lot of people showed up at this party. But the televised version of Ric Flair's 70th birthday party, the non-surprise version of Flair's birthday party, is, of course, taking place on Raw tomorrow night. And we already know one person who won't be there, and that's Arn Anderson. Yeah, I know he and Rick are not as tight as they used to be. Something to do with Arn's wife being good friends with Rick's second wife. When Rick and her divorced, then Arn had to, I guess, pick a side, and he chose to side with his wife and Rick's ex. And I think that was sort of when things went south a little bit between them. They may be cool now, but I think people in their mind have this image in their head that still Flair and Anderson, they're like bosom buddies and best friends, and they still run around like it's the Horsemen in 1988. And that's just not the case anymore. But I don't know if there's a role for him somewhere else, or if he even wants that, but he's the kind of guy who, when he talks, you listen. I saw that up close when I interviewed him and Tully, and even at the Hall of Fame, when the Horsemen got inducted that year, he got a standing ovation before he even spoke, before he even uttered a word. That's respect. I can only imagine what he must have done or said for Vince to never want to bring him back again. I mean, that's like Randy Savage-esque treatment right there, At least for Arn, he's already in the Hall of Fame, right? Savage didn't get in until he was dead. At least Arn had the chance to go up on stage and get a nice ovation and make a great speech, and so it doesn't matter what Vince thinks now. And you know what? Maybe Vince found out that Double A is scheduled for StarCast. He is, actually. He really is scheduled for StarCast. Maybe Vince is taking this StarCast thing way too seriously.